You is such a pussy. I just finished a book called The Apocalypse by Peter Meredith. I really wanted to like read something gory and like zombies and viruses because I'd seen Zombieland, the 28 Days Later movie, and I really wanted to read something zombies. So I looked it up on Amazon, zombie books, and The Apocalypse came up, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me give this a shot. This sounds pretty awesome. So let's read the description on the back of the book. Greed, terrorism, and simple bad luck conspire to bring mankind to its knees as a viral infection spreads out of control, reducing those infected to undead horrors that feed upon the rest. It's a time of misery and death for most. However, there are some who are lucky, some who are ruthless, and some who are just too damned tough to go down without a fight. This is their story. So that's what was on the description. It intrigued me. I was like, I would like to read this, so I did. I bought it, downloaded it on my Kindle, started reading it, and the first thing that popped up was a warning from the author. Quoting, "As Americans in the year 2015, a warning about graphic violence, political correctness, and sexual situations in a zombie novel would seem completely misplaced, and yet I still have complaints." Well, I read this book and I do have some complaints. Yeah, I do. He goes on to say, oh, this isn't like a book about, ex-Navy SEALs and this is about real people and real situations and blah, 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 blah. And these people, both the good and bad, are represented by every creed and every race. My job as an author is to hold up a mirror to society, and it's not always pretty. So I was like, oh shit, okay, that's kind of cool. I'd like to read this. I wonder what is it gonna put out? Like what? So I was like, okay. Kept reading the forward, and it keeps going, and eventually another quote, "In fact, if you think the word Ebonics, in parentheses, African American vernacular English, is insulting rather than descriptive, or if you have called someone racist more than once in the last 6 months, please go to another book. You will not be happy with this one. You will see racism instead of reality, and you will pout and have a bad day." So I was like, oh, okay, well, I wonder what kind of characters like he's got cooking. Like I'm kind of excited for this already. Like, okay, it's gonna be your typical, sad story, oh, the hero wins and da-da-da-da. I was excited. So let's start into the actual beginning of the book. Then we're gonna talk about the characters in the book. All right, so the book starts off with some Russian scientists in Russia and some, facility, and he is intent on stealing some sort of virus that the Russians have developed. His goal is to sell it for roughly $79 million to the North Koreans, which is along with a couple vials of the cure. Yes, there is a cure, which I thought was like, oh shit, there's actually a cure for the zombie virus. All right, that's cool. I hope it gets good, put to good use. The North Koreans purchased it. So this is my dog Cortana. Say hello, Cortana. Okay, so let mommy do this, okay? All right. So the North Koreans buy this virus from this Russian scientist, whatever. They buy it, they sell it to Pakistan for oil, and then they meet up with some Saudi extremists and give it to them for, I don't know, money or something. I don't really remember. They're in this like warehouse or something, a room, and the Saudis are like, yo, we want proof that this is like an actual thing, that this is gonna, we want to bring the West to its knees. So they bring in a dog and they inject the dog with the virus, and after a couple hours, the dog gets sick, the dog dies, the dog comes back, they shoot it in the leg, oh, it doesn't feel pain, finally they shoot it in the head. I was like, oh shit, I'm thinking of my dog, I don't why would you do that to a dog? But fine. So they're talking price and their plans for the virus, and they get distracted. Let's pay off the North Koreans and get them out of here. Meanwhile, everybody forgets about the dead dog with the virus. They shot it in the head, but it's dead. They totally forget to dispose of the body or anything. So as they're all talking, rats come and feast on the body. And I was like, oh shit. Oh my God, I hate rats so much. They're so gross. That's how it starts. The rats, go across the whole world and start biting people and infecting people. So let's open up with our characters. So the first one that I really remember, like, I just got so many feelings about this guy. His name is Neil, and he is from New Jersey, and it opens with him in a subway. And I guess, oh man, I just got some really incel-y vibes like that. Okay, so he's 5'5". He says this. He's, I guess, an average looking guy. He works up on Wall Street, but he's not in a relationship. He is really shy. He says he's like a really nice guy, but women don't seem interested in him. And so I guess we might as well call him a Chad, because he was described as a blonde, average looking guy who was taller. So he's basically a Chad, comes in, bumps into him on like the train station. He's like, yo, I was here. And then the guy's like, well, what the fuck you can do about it? And then a really, really pretty lady is like, hey, leave him alone, da 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 da. And then the dude, whatever, fucks off. And she's like, I can't believe how people treat, others. Homophobia is like a bad thing. And he's like, in like internal monologue, like, I'm not gay, but I hate when people think I'm gay. And basically the whole book, women think he's gay, and he's mad about it. And he gets angry when he's called a nice guy. Like, doing something nice for a woman and being called, oh, you're such a really nice guy, apparently really pisses him off. I just thought it was like really weird and like creepy. Like, he doesn't go out much. He's I'm wondering, like, how is this guy going to survive this zombie apocalypse? Actually, let's talk about Sarah. Okay, so Sarah is like, she's a young, she got married young, had a daughter young. She's a really hot, basically Jennifer Aniston looking woman. I thought she was really boring and had like no depth. So she's a divorcee with a presumably dead teenage daughter, because as the apocalypse is happening, I guess she drops her daughter off or something, or sent her back to her dad or something, and never hears from her daughter again. She just lost her daughter. She's in the zombie apocalypse. She's in a separate town, like, I don't know, what was it, like to the fucking North Illinois or something? I don't know, somewhere up there. But she's with her parents, and they're stuck in like their suburban neighborhood town. And then the army rolls in, and they're like, yeah, there's a quarantine instead of all these cities are moving quarantine. And then eventually, like, they go door to door, knocking on everybody's door, and it's like, hey, we're taking all your fucking food and guns, and if you don't, we're gonna kill you. And they're like, oh shit. So then this colonel shows up. This colonel shows up, and he is like clearly checking her out in like a really creepy way. She feels uncomfortable, and he pulls her to the side of his house, and he's like, hey, if you come with me and, serve me, wink, wink, I will take care of you and give you food and shelter. And she's thinking, well, why would I do that? That's reprehensible, da 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 da. Yeah, it is. I mean, he's like, listen, there is like a giant horde of zombies coming this way. In a few days, this entire suburban neighborhood will be dead. Everybody knows will be dead. If you don't come with me now, you will die too. She's like, well, in her head, my daughter's dead. She's like, oh, well, can I take my parents? He's like, yeah, you can totally bring your parents. So she agrees, goes with this colonel to some island in like one of the Great Lakes or something, and is told that she's going to be his executive assistant. Her family her mom and dad are put on like another island, which is not as defensible. Not that it's not, it's not as well protected as the main island where all the soldiers are and the colonel is or whatever. So she comes to this tent, and there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the girls, and she's like, I'm going to be his executive assistant. She's like, and the rest of them are like, no, we're all the executive assistants. He picks who he wants to spend the night with, and if you bore him, you get kicked out to like another tent. So apparently in this like island, every tent has like 20 plus soldiers in it with one girl for all of them to share. and it's disgusting. Like, holy shit. Like, no, I'm not saying that Peter Meredith, like, but I thought it was interesting. Like, it was really interesting, really scary thing to read. Like, holy shit, it was creepy. I was like, oh fuck. And it wasn't like badly written or anything, not at all. I thought it was a very interesting, horrifying concept for women, because I was pretty horrified, and that's the point of a horror story. It's supposed to freak you out or make you like really uncomfortable. So eventually the island is overrun. She has some sort of like lesbian encounter with one of the other girls. She's like, oh, he'll keep us if we have a threesome, because that's what every guy's fantasy is. Is it? I don't know. There's like this like little scene of like girl on girl sex, and it's like described, and I'm just like, is this like some sort of like weird fantasy that the author's writing? I don't know, whatever. I didn't see the point describing any of it. Like, it didn't really add anything to the story, but it was done anyway, so I was like, whatever. No, they tell the colonel, hey, take both of us, we want to please you. I guess the zombies start coming in from like the lakes and the rivers, and there's chaos, and like they're gonna like take down the bridge so no one can get on or off. She's like, no, I gotta get to my parents, which is fine. I would go and get to my parents too. So she goes and she runs. She gets to the island, finds out her dad was bitten, her mother was also bitten. She has to shoot her dad in the face while he's being eaten alive by zombies. They climb up into trees, and then she has to kill her mom in the morning after all the zombies go, and she floats down some river all the way down, and eventually runs into Neil. Neil is fascinated by this woman. He obviously has a gigantic crush on her, and I just kept thinking back to like the nice guys finish last thing with Neil, because that's the vibe he was giving out the whole time. Like, oh, I am so angry that women don't like me and everyone thinks I'm gay and da da da. Listen, for the record, for any guys watching, I thought my husband was gay when I first met him, but that's only because he was so well groomed. Like, he looked really good. His hair was done. His eyebrows are like naturally perfect. I don't know. I thought he was gay, but he wasn't. All you gotta do is like, if you're that guy that has women thinking, oh, I'm gay, but I'm not really gay, you need to just say that you're not gay. Like, just tell us, because we don't know. Some ignorant ass women like me think that all guys are gay just because they're well groomed, but that's not true. So, oh, those fucking stupid Janice here. And this is where like, and I'm talking about these characters like super out of order, but this is where I start to notice like this subtle racism or subtle ignorance. We can say whatever it is. I kind of think he's more of an ignorant guy, the author, but whatever. Let's start with Victor Ramirez. He is a Hispanic male, super tall, like 6 foot something. He works for the DEA. There's a part in the book where Victor, or as he's called in the book, Ram, which Latinos, we don't call people Ram at all. Like Ramirez, like what? We don't call Ram. I'm gonna call him Victor. But Victor gets with these gangbangers, which is literally what they're called in the book. Like, who the fuck says gangbangers anymore? There's this part in one of his, perspectives where he's like, quoting, beginning of the story, he is with, a couple of other DEA guys, and they are investigating like terrorist attacks and all of these mosques, because it's becoming rampant, and they have to figure out, and you could infer from reading, it's the Saudi extremists from like the beginning of the book. They're setting off like explosives with like blood tinted with like tainted with the virus, and exploding in mosques or whatever, and that's where they're spreading the virus even more, and additionally with the rats, which is crazy and super scary. Like, holy shit, that's terrifying. Eventually they they capture one of like the extremists, and he basically implies, yes, I have been cured, I have one of the cures, because apparently like the Saudis like created like vaccines, like 200 plus vaccines, whenever they decided that they were gonna spread this horrible zombie virus across the rest of the world and bring the West to its knees. So they extract blood from him, and Victor, or as he's referred to as Ram in in the book, which doesn't make sense, but whatever. He has the vial of blood on him and keeps it with him throughout the entire story until the end. But eventually, he's like on the front lines with a bunch of like soldiers who are trying to keep the zombies back. Victor shits his pants, freaks out, abandons his post, runs around across California into like, you know, going further to the east, and I don't know. Eventually, he comes across a bunch of gangbangers. And that's literally what they're called. They're called gangbangers, which I don't even know who uses that word, but they're basically a bunch of, you know, Mexicanos or Mexicans who are, you know, thugs or gangbangers. I don't think anyone actually uses that today, but I don't know. And they're clearly not good guys. They're bad guys. They steal and, you know, they shoot people and blah, 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 and that's fine. They run into a black woman named Cassie. Now, this is where I started having problems with the story. Not because Cassie is black, not because of how Peter depicts her in the story, but her dialogue. It was, let me read you the dialogue. Paragraph from Victor's point of view. They had been killers before the zombies, and now they were 10 times worse. The 5 remaining bangers spread out as they approached the house, and the girl next to Ram scoffed at him. You is such a pussy. What do you think is all up in there? A house full of zombies? Shit, it's probably just a couple of crackers. I read that and I was like, have you ever actually spent time with black people? Because it's funny, he says in his forward, like, it's 2015, and it's 2019 right now. And it's like, have you, like, never actually spent time with, like, any black people ever? You is such a pussy. Like, they don't actually talk that way. Like, and we talk about Ebonics, whatever, but, like, real, like, it's not like that. That is what a like older white man in his 40s or 50s would think that a black person talks like. And that's just like so inaccurate. I was like, what is this? At this point in the book, where I just read, Victor, the gangbangers, and Cassie find some house in the middle of the desert. And in comes Julia, a red-headed white woman who's, you know, really pretty or whatever. She's in there with her mom. The gangbangers go in there, you know, want to steal shit, start shooting shit up, and Victor has a change of heart. He decides he's gonna kill the gangbangers, so he does. Kills them all. Julia's upstairs. Her mother is dead or dying because she's been shot. They stay in the house with Julia, and for some reason, even though Julia has just lost her mother, her father, her brother, her ex-husband, like they're all dead and like buried in the back of the house, she and Victor develop some like weird romance. To me, it doesn't. Maybe it does make sense. Like, I don't know, if you're a psychologist, like, please help me. Under like a lot of like stressful situations, maybe romances like that can happen, but to me it was just like super unrealistic and made zero sense. I was not a fan. When Victor was with so Cassie likes to be with people who are strong. She likes to be with guys that are hard, that she can be safe with. Victor and Julia start having sex. Cassie gets super, super jealous. Goes on this rant saying how, oh, you just want to be one of those white boys. You're betraying your own race. And I just thought it was so ridiculous. Okay, so all of this could have worked. Like, Cassie's character could have worked. Victor's character could have worked. I feel like Peter didn't actually have anyone in 2015 who's like younger read over his story and point out, hey, that's actually not how they talk and that's actually not how that works anymore. I just feel like that didn't happen. Eventually, all of these characters, you know, meet together and form a group. I just thought this part was so fucking stupid. They come across this older couple and they have a newborn baby with them. Oh, hang on. Julia can't have kids. I forgot to mention that. She can't have kids. That's why her ex-husband like divorced her. Apparently, a couple like nights ago, this woman, a couple, whatever, came, you know, they were sick and they were like, oh, we have to take care of a newborn baby. So they're taking the kid and they come across the group. And they're like, hey, here, take this baby. We can't take care of it. And my first thought was, oh, no, 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 no. Like, this is a zombie apocalypse. You think I want a baby with me as a freaking liability? If it were a zombie apocalypse, I would certainly not want to have any more of those cute little babies that cry and don't shut up when you want them to shut up, because that's a liability. Julia, Mrs. Psychology, she can't have kids or whatever. She goes crazy for this baby and is like, I want to be its mother. And Sarah's like, no, I want to be the baby's mother. And then Neil's like, oh, I can be the dad. And Victor's like, I guess I could be the dad too. They're all arguing over this and they're all ignoring Cassie. I guess Cassie gets like so pissed off that nobody asked her if she wanted to be this newborn baby's mother. She finds some axe later down, like a couple nights later, that's some like barn or something. She has an axe, confronts Julia because she was jealous that Julia and Victor were having sex behind her back, and apparently they promised not. Victor wanted to kick her out of the group like several times, but everybody else was like, no, let's keep her because we have to take care of her. And there's like some subtle racism from Julia, like, oh yeah, you're a black person, I have to take care of you, and she like constantly like talks down to Cassie, and Cassie picks up on it. She's not fucking stupid. She picks up on like the condescending talk from Julia. Cassie gets so pissed off, takes an axe. It says, hey, I'm gonna kill your fucking, because eventually, I guess they all decided that Julia will be the mom because she's never had kids, and Sarah had her chance, but her daughter's dead now because of the zombie apocalypse. Anyway, she takes this axe and tells her, I'm gonna kill your baby because you're a bitch or whatever. Hang on, let me find the quote. Oh yeah, so the baby's name is Eve. There's one chapter for Julia, and this is where she gets the axe in her face. She is like sitting with the baby by herself, and Cassie appears almost magically with Neil's axe raised above her head and murder in her ferocious eyes. Not the baby, Julia begged in a whisper, her new motherhood coming out in full force as she leaned forward, putting her arms out to cover the car seat. Then Cassie goes, I could have been her mom, but you wouldn't let me. Julie's like, I'm her mother, do what you want to me, but please don't hurt her. And Cassie's like, no way, bitch. You're gonna see her die. You're gonna live with that. What type of like psycho shit is this? I didn't think Cassie was like a total psycho. Like what, that, to me it came out of like nowhere. You wouldn't let me be her mom. Oh, I'm gonna kill a baby now. Like what the fuck? I didn't see it coming. There was like no, for me, there was like no character development for me to see that Cassie was gonna try and kill a baby. So the axe, you know, Julia protects the baby, she gets axed instead. Cassie runs away. The rest of the group goes after her in vengeance. She kidnaps the baby. She kidnaps the baby. She kidnaps the baby. And Sadie, who was apparently a gothic loner track star girl, which is like, were you really a loner because you do track? I don't know. Most people who are in sports like have a lot of friends, but whatever. Sadie runs after her, follows her to some house, and hears the baby crying in the basement, and it's like obviously a fucking trap. It's a trap! Obviously a trap. So she runs down to the basement, and Cassie opens all the doors, lets all the zombies in, basically tells her she's a fucking idiot. And then Cassie's like, you gonna shoot it? Sadie's like, it? What it? The baby. Man, you dumb. When the stiffs come for you, are you gonna kill it? Or let it turn into a little baby zombie? Sadie's like, I'm gonna kill you. That's what I'm gonna do. So, I don't know. Neil comes in out of nowhere with another axe, gets Sadie and Eve out with the little baby. Cassie's nowhere to be found. They can't find her, blah, 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 blah. So remember how I said that Victor has like that vial of blood from like the Saudi extremist that has the cure in his blood? Okay, so the gang decides that they're all gonna try and go to the CDC. There's a minor character in here named Eric, who is a scientist who was, I don't know, I don't know, he's some fuck, I don't even know what the hell he does. There's never any mention of what he actually does. But they go to the CDC, I guess like the secretary of something is now supposedly the new president of the United States. And I forgot to say, they assassinated the president. Like they were just like, oh, you know, this is the perfect time to kill the president, so we're gonna go kill the president. So they staged some military coup, killed the real president, and now this like secretary, older woman, is now acting president, but never actually took control. So all these other like army colonels or generals, some admiral, he's pissed off and wants to stage a coup. So the gang gets there, like literally like 10 minutes before this coup is about to start. So they go to this Madam Secretary and like, hey, listen, you have to, we have to stop this. Like, I have a cure. And Victor pulls out the vial and he's like, I have the cure. And she's like, no, you're an Eric. Hang on. So Eric was in cahoots with the Admiral, who gave him the numbers of all the soldiers that were there, all their security measurements, and was like, the Admiral told Eric that Madam Secretary was incompetent and wasn't doing her job, was letting people die, That would be, I could believe it if there was some of that in the story. Like, you can't just tell me something happened and not actually show that it happened. Like, I didn't see that shit at all. I didn't, whatever. Victor's like, hey, I have the cure. Madam Secretary gets pissed off, calls Eric a traitor, because he is, and has him shot to death. Like, just, and he's dead. Eric is dead. So then she's like, and kill the rest of them too. Kill Neil, kill Victor, kill Sarah, kill Sadie, kill the rest of them too. Like, just because. Like, in my head, I'm like, why? Maybe she's just panicking and freaking out, but whatever. And Victor's like, no, wait, I have the cure. Here's the vial of blood right here. I have the cure. There's no cure. She takes the vial of blood and chucks it at the wall, and it's gone. Holy shit, there goes the fucking cure. Victor's like, you know what, this is for the greater good. You are a horrible Madam Secretary. And for some reason, I kept thinking that the author was alluding to Hillary Clinton, but I can't be sure. He's definitely more towards the right. You can tell by the way he writes, which is fine. Like, that's not a problem. Oh boy. All right, so Victor shoots Madam Secretary, and like the book ends with, you know, the Admiral, another coup against like the Admiral who orchestrated the coup against the CDC in Atlanta. And I don't know, some new general like comes in and they establish some base at the CDC, and it ends with like, you know, everybody living happily ever after on the base, except for Victor, who leaves to go north to try and find Cassie, because he still wants revenge after her killing Julia, because she is a racist, and they weren't racist towards her at all, and she wasn't portrayed horribly. All of this could have worked for me. It could have worked. Like, I could have been like, okay, whatever. Except for like the dialogue. Her dialogue was the worst attempt at portraying a black woman from Compton I have ever read in my entire life. Like, the certain words that Peter uses, gangbangers, hood rat. For him, minorities should be super educated and should come from a good background and not, you know, they should speak English and And being from the ghetto automatically, like, makes someone bad. He talked about, like, the barrios in, like, East LA and stuff. I just got the feeling he actually has no idea. Like, he's never actually spoken to a Latina, and not those that live in places like Compton or Detroit or Miami or Los Angeles. I don't think he actually spoke to anybody living in like the ghetto, like ever at all. And if you're gonna depict minorities, you better talk to minorities before you write that down, or at least have them look at it, read it, and tell you what you think before publishing it. It wasn't bad. Like, it's got like 4.5 stars on Amazon, so it wasn't bad. But for me, it was just like, this is some really ignorant ass writing. This needs to be polished and it'd actually be a lot better story. That's it. You just gotta talk to people. You gotta get to know people other than just what your stereotypes of what those groups of people are. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm Janie. I like books, I like movies, I like games. Probably gonna be posting videos quite often, but if you would like to subscribe or comment or like or whatever, that would be super cool. I'd be really happy. But welcome to my channel. Bye.